My name is Michelle Benegas. You can call me Michelle. And I live in St. Paul, Minnesota. Minnesota is in the north of the United States, close to Canada. My husband is from Argentina. Have you heard of Argentina?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. So my husband is from Argentina, and I have three daughters. They are 15, 18, and 18. So I have twins. And we speak English and Spanish at our house. And I'm a professor at a university, and I prepare English teachers.
Namaste, ma'am. Good morning.
Namaste. Good morning.
How are you, ma'am?
I'm good. Thank you.
My name is Gayatri, ma'am. I am an 8th grader from Z.P.H.S High School, Ilavaram. I'd like to ask a question, ma'am. What qualities should English teachers possess to become successful teachers?
What qualities should English teachers possess? I think humility. So humility is the opposite of arrogance, right? When you are humble, you understand your students, sometimes that they succeed and sometimes they struggle. And so if we can be humble, then we can support our students to learn language, because learning language is risky. It's difficult. We have to be uncomfortable to learn language. So you need to have a teacher that you can be uncomfortable with, and that will support you. Good morning.
This is Jessica, an 8th grade student from Z.P.H.S School, Ilavaram. Namaste from India. I'm so blessed
Namaste.
to ask you a question. Can I ask, ma'am?
Yes.
What are the new trends in teaching English language?
I think right now the number one trend in the United States is called translanguaging. And translanguaging is the idea that we should not only speak English in the English class, that we can use our home language to understand English. And so right now that is very popular because our students are losing their home languages. So if we don't allow them to use home language and English together, they will lose their home language in the United States. What languages are in this room? What languages do people speak?
We all speak Telugu.
Okay, wonderful.
Telugu is one of the regional languages spoken in the southern part of India.
Good morning.
This is Nandakishore, an 8th grade student from Z.P.H.S Ilavaram. I would like to ask a question. Can I ask, ma'am?
Yes.
What are the areas that English teachers should improve to justify to their profession?
Oh, that's a great question. In the United States right now, we are starting to talk about pronunciation again. Before we did not, because there was a lot of prejudice against accents. And people said, oh, your accent is okay, so we don't have to teach you pronunciation. We still believe that your accent is okay. We all have different accents, but people need to learn pronunciation. So that's been a little bit political in the United States, is talking about pronunciation because of fear of what we call accentism. And that's a negative stigma against certain accents. So I think that right now we're just thinking, yeah, we can work on pronunciation all the way through. My husband is learning English. Oh, he's continuing to learn. And sometimes I correct his pronunciation. So we can always learn.
Yes, thank you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
This is Husniya, a 7th grader from Z.P.H.S School, Ilavaram. I am so glad to ask you a question, ma'am. Can I ask?
Yes.
How long teachers are trained in your institution?
Very good question. How long does it take teachers to be trained? between 2 and 3 years. But for some, it's 4 years. It depends. If you're very young and you need a college degree, it will be 4 years. If you already have a college degree, then it would be 2 years. That's a good question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Rutika, over to you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
My name is Rutika, an 8th grade student from Z.P.H.S Ilavaram. I am so privileged to interact with you. Namaste from India. Here my question is, are English teachers on demand these days? Why?
Wow, the answer is yes. You know, COVID was so terrible across the world. And one thing that happened in the United States with COVID is many of our older teachers left. So they are no longer teachers. So we need teachers, and English teachers too. You know, we need more English teachers. That's been very difficult. Do you need more English teachers in India too?
Yes, we too need many English teachers because in India we have a different situation. Every state has its own regional language. So in order to communicate with our fellow Indians, we need to speak only English language. So
Of
English
course.
is the essential language, a survival language in India. Then your state,
Yes.
country, U.S.A.
Yes. That's really interesting.
Yes.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, ma'am. My name is Tanmay Srija, an 8th grader from Z.P.H.S Ilavaram. I would like to ask one question, ma'am. Can I ask, ma'am?
Yes.
What made you to become English teacher's trainer?
Oh, good question. That's a long, long story. I don't know how to tell you the short story. Um, I first I was a Spanish teacher. I was a high school Spanish teacher, and my students didn't really care about Spanish. And so I didn't really think it was a great job after I started. But then I started to, I needed money. So I started to teach adult English at night, immigrants from other countries. And I loved it. I loved having students who needed me and really benefited from my work. So then I said, I don't want to teach Spanish anymore. I want to teach English now. And I found my dream job. You know what? I was a high school teacher with kids just like you. And I said, I love this job. I'm going to do this job until I'm old and retire. But I had twins. I had 2 babies, and they were very early and they had medical problems. So I could not return to my high school teaching job. And I was so devastated. I was so sad. And I decided, well, what I can do is teach teachers. So I can use that same knowledge. Because in the United States, if you're a high school teacher, you cannot take days off. You have to be there all day, every day. And if your children have medical problems, then you can't be a high school teacher. So I had to leave my career. But I found a way to continue to do the work that I love, preparing teachers to do this job that your lovely teacher does.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Farhat, over to you.
Yes, sir. Hi, ma'am. My name is Farhad Dawsum. I am studying 7th grade from Z.P.H.S School, Ilavaram. Can I ask one question, ma'am?
Yes.
How would you describe your teaching style?
I think my teaching style is very, I believe in community. I believe in building community. I always start class asking for connections. In the United States, when teachers make a connection, they do this or they do this. And so what kind of connection can you make with what we were talking about in class and the world? And that way we all know each other and we know what's happening in each other's lives.
So in our 6 years journey of this virtual collaboration, we have traveled to many countries across the globe, and we have learned many information and many languages, many cultures, traditions. So what? Many more. So my students and me are learning every day something from one corner of the world. It is a really rich experience for me and
Wow.
for my students. Yeah.
Wow.
So far we have connected with more than 80 countries.
That's amazing. That's
Okay.
amazing. Wow.
Thank you. Madhavi, over to you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, ma'am. I am so glad today to ask you a question. Here, my question is, what teaching techniques do you teach?
What teaching techniques do I teach? Well, because I have not taught young students for 18 years, I prepare teachers to be advocates, and not as much about how to teach English. So I teach my teachers how to fight for their students and how to fight for themselves in their jobs. That's what I spend more of my time doing is advocacy.
Okay.
Hi, ma'am. Good morning. My name is Padmaja. I am a 7th grader from Z.P.H.S Ilavaram. I would like to ask a question. Can I ask, ma'am?
Yes.
What is important for you? Pronunciation or conveying message?
Always conveying message, always conveying message. I think that pronunciation is what makes you, you, right? That's people can see, oh, you're from this other place or you speak this other language. As long as we can understand you, pronunciation is not a problem. I think it's a beautiful feature about you, but conveying your message is very important.
So you have been training English teachers, but what kind of job opportunities that the English teachers get within the United States of America? In when it comes to India, most of the English teachers they settle either in the private sector or public sector. Public sector, I think you can get a lot of money once you get involved in the public sector, because public sector you can get you get the solid amount of salary from the government. At the same time, you can insure your life. After retirement, you get a quality pension. But whereas in private sector, as usual, I think the not much salary you draw from the institution, the private institution, and there won't be any guarantee for your pension after the retirement. So how about in your country? How do the teachers that come out from the institution and fancy their chances?
Good question. So my institution prepares English teachers, kindergarten through high school, adult, and college. My focus is on kindergarten through high school. So the students the students that I am preparing want to become elementary English teachers or high school English teachers. And because of, the United States takes a lot of immigrants, a lot of refugees. Really, if you look at the news and you see what is happening in the world, those are the people that are coming to the United States. So if you see the war in Ukraine, or you see the rise of the Taliban in Afghanistan, or you see the government changes in Venezuela, whatever is happening around the world where people are struggling, they come to the United States. And so if you are an English teacher, you will have a different group of students, maybe every 5 years. When I was an English teacher for a time, all of my students were from Mexico. And then all of my students were from Somalia. And then all of my students were Hmong from Laos. Right now, they are Karen from Myanmar. They're Nepali. So you get to learn a new group of people over and over and over again. There is always work. I think that the pay is good. The pension is there. it's always public. But the job of a teacher is difficult. And I think right now, after the pandemic, we have a lot of children with behavior problems in the classroom, and that is difficult. But my colleagues prepare teachers to teach adults. Adults come here and they need to learn English too. So those jobs don't pay as well, and they are not as reliable. If you teach adults, maybe you teach 4 hours a week. It's not a full-time job.
Okay, thank you. So what subjects are part of the curriculum that you use to train the or to prepare the English teachers?
So we have an International Association of English Teachers. It's called TSOL, Teachers of English to Speakers of Other Languages. And they have standards. So in our program, we meet those standards. You have to take the basic teacher education classes like educational psychology and multicultural education. But if you want to be an English teacher, you have to take linguistics, grammar, second language acquisition, sociolinguistics, 2 methods classes, and 1 advocacy class. The advocacy class is the one that I teach. So it's a long program.
So how is the recruitment that is takes place in your country? In India, if you want to enter into the public sector, you have to take a test and you have to you have to score high marks in the competitive examination. And so then you can be selected in a public sector or public sector English teacher or public sector teacher. So how about the selection criteria in your country?
Well, that is changing quickly. I would say that 15 years ago, it was the same way that you just described, Hari Krishna, that it was very competitive, and schools could fight over which teacher they would get. Right now, we don't have enough teachers. So the criteria is changing every day. And in some states, anybody can be the teacher, especially in the South, in the southern states like Florida and Texas and Arizona. Literally anyone can walk into the class and be a teacher. It's a very big problem. In my state, it is not that bad. But if there are circumstances where they don't have enough teachers, they might hire someone who is still in school to become a teacher as the teacher. Right now, 1/3 of my students are already teaching, even though they have not finished their program, because we don't have enough teachers.
Yes. Thank you. And you have just mentioned that whatever happens in the world, so that affects the USA. I mean, the refugees all over the world,
Yes.
they come to USA and they take shelter here. So that might take toll on the teachers, especially on English teachers, because the English teachers are the ones who have to train these different students that come from the different background and different ethnic groups and different language backgrounds. So what kind of challenges that English teachers face in this context?
We're always learning, right? We're always learning. I can tell you something that happened just last week. So part of the teacher licensure exam is that you have to videotape yourself teaching, and you have to videotape students engaging, so that the government can see that, yes, you know how to teach. Well, one of my teachers called me and said, I cannot videotape in my school. And I said, why? And he said, the school is 100% Somali, and they are Muslim, and they believe that they cannot have a video camera. It is against their religion. No video allowed. So that's interesting. That's a new problem for me, right? I want my students to respect the culture and the religious beliefs of his community, and this is the state requirement. So we have these challenges sometimes where now I have to go to the state and ask, hey, can we only have audio? And that's okay. I think that the benefit outweighs the risk. I love living in a place where I can have Vietnamese food for dinner one night and go out for lunch with my Somali friends the next day. I have a very good friend from Pakistan. That's so nice that we have a community that's from all around the world.
Yeah, thank you. And I have two more questions left in this session. So,
Sure.
as usual, you have a husband who is from Argentina. So, as you have just mentioned that sometimes uh, you try to correct his pronunciation, you try to correct his maybe his mistakes. So that's part of your maybe a daily routine. But in India, actually, for us, English is not our mother tongue. Of course, it's international language. It's the third language as a part of our curriculum. We speak our regional language, we speak our national language, and we are also able to speak our international language, English. And so here the thing is, in order to make my students speak English, so in order to pronounce the words accurately as it should be. So in your experience, as you have been with a husband who is from Argentina, so in order to make a student to speak English fluently, what topics would you recommend to learn first, especially in English grammar?
Yeah. So anything that you care about. You know, when I was your age, I was learning Spanish. First, I went to Spanish class and I didn't care. I wasn't a very good student, actually. And then I went to Mexico and then I started to listen to music. And when I listened to music, I would always get the lyrics. This is a long time ago. We had CDs. You probably, I don't know if you still use CDs, but I would read the lyrics and use that to understand the language. If you like art, watch videos about art. If you like a TV show, so many people learn English from TV shows and they sound very good. So I think the question is more about motivation. What do you love? Because what I love might not be what another student might love.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So you have just told us that yes, practice, and if you want to watch a video or in English, you can watch and you can improve, and through the YouTube videos also. So my request is, in English grammar, what topics would you like me to introduce first in order to make the students fluent? I mean, tenses or prepositions or what kind of grammar topics would you recommend to be introduced?
Wow. Well, first, I have to say that everyone's English is beautiful. I've heard really excellent English in this class. So I would say maybe transitions. Like, on the other hand, however, although, you know, those sorts of words to make our language, you know, more sophisticated, but I heard really good language in the room today.
Okay, thank you. Okay, before we wind up the session, could you please give a final message to my students?
Sure. Well, my final message would just be that you're amazing. You're amazing people. You already speak so many languages. And yeah, that I love that you have this community. I can tell that you have a strong community here with your teacher. And just continue to learn, continue to be open to learning new things, going to different places, talking to new people. And I'm just so happy. I'm the blessed one that I got to talk to all of you today.